I love to do when I travel. I like traveling. I always have my field recorder with me, and I like to collect stuff. Like, for example, I've been to a cave in Thailand. There were like dead stalactites, and I recorded them because it was like a really percussive kind of bongo sound. And yeah, like all kind of things to have in my library, because for me personally, it's most of the time it's a good starting point, because I don't like to take a synth and start from there, because more often like I take these field recordings and see like, okay, what can I do with it?
Rob Ruckus,
Nick Collins,
Kate Clover,
Keith Semple,
Isaiah Mitchell,
Billy Harvey,
Tim Howard. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. I'm your host, Scott Saldinger. Thank you for hanging with us, getting to know musicians, learning their stories, getting to know them just beyond the music as well. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, share. If you've been here before and you're coming back, thank you so much for sticking around for more hangs. But please make sure you tell your friends about us. You came back for a reason. You must like it. They may too. Also, if you'd like to take your podcast on the go, we're available on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you find your podcasts. Today, German-Tunisian producer and composer Tarek is joining me on The Hang. We're going to talk about his powerful new conceptual album, Chott. It dropped on March 27th. It's a 10-track journey that blends minimal, melancholy, bass-heavy, electronic textures. And I almost said eclectic, and we'll get into that too, because I really enjoyed listening to it. I think you're going to like it too. And traditional instrumentation into something deeply cinematic and personal. It's named after Chott El Djerid, Salt Lake in southern Tunisia. I knew I was going to mess that up, even though I've been working on it. The record confronts identity and heritage head-on, weaving in intimate elements like his father's original Arabic poem on the title track and childhood reflections on the track 1995, which I absolutely loved, turning memory into immersive sonic landscape. This electronic music rooted in culture, heat, family, history, and if you're into boundary-pushing composition with emotional weight, you're going to love this album. Tarek, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward.
I really tried to nail the landing on the name of the lake. I got to be honest. I really tried.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
It's well, you know what? And I've been to the Salt Lakes here in the States. I'm going to have to go to Tunisia now and check those out for sure.
It's very interesting. It's a very huge thing. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's so the thing that blew me away when I visited the Salt Lakes here in Utah is how small you feel in comparison. Like you suddenly understand your place on the planet when you're surrounded by this vast openness and you're just one little speck.
The thing is, like in Tunisia, this Salt Lake is also kind of like the opening gate to the Sahara. So like you cross it and right behind it, it's even more like sandy and nothing. Like, but the Chott El Djerid is a bit more different, like from what happens afterwards. Like very, very dry, a lot of like Fata Morgana, miracle stuff you can see there. It's very interesting. It's worth a visit.
It's on my trip list. It's on my trip list.
And
sure.
Like the thing that everybody knows, kind of like, or what it's famous for, is like Star Wars, because they used it as a scenery for the Star Wars movies.
That's
and you
right.
still have,
that's right.
Yeah, you still have some leftover houses. It's really funny. Also, like kind of touristic place.
Yeah, no, that's what it doubled for what Tatooine in Star Wars. It's there's some very famous sets that are still there, from what I understand.
Yeah.
We could go down a Star Wars rabbit hole, but the rabbit hole I really want to go down is your relationship with music. How did that start? What was that moment and that feeling like when either you found music or music found you? And how did that develop into the music you're making today?
Like when I was maybe 9, 10, I can't remember. Like my brother, he's 1 year older than me. He started doing guitar lessons, and like my family is not really musical, so it wasn't the big thing in my family. My mother, she used to play a bit of acoustic guitar, and my father, he wasn't really into music. He was just like a big Michael Jackson fan. That's it. And so my brother, he said like, I want to play guitar, and I always wanted to do the same thing like my older brother. So I said, yeah, I also want to play the guitar. And so my mother, she brought me there one time, another time, and I think like by the third time, the teacher, he asked me like, can you do this again? And my fingers were already hurting, and I felt like, no, I did it already 5 times, and why again? And then, so that's it. Like I quit. I said, no, it's not for me. My brother, he continued playing the guitar, and I kind of swept to drum lessons because my mother said like, yeah, maybe try the drums. So I started taking drum lessons, I think by the age of 11. And yeah, it was just like a side thing, like practicing, not real like not really like having a band or playing with other people. Maybe once in a while a friend of mine came over, or I play with my brother, but it was just like kids doing things. And then a couple years later, like I think 13, 14, I was more interested in all the gaming stuff. I was a bit nerdy on Counter-Strike, like playing online with random people I never met in my life. So the drums was not interesting anymore. It was like dusty in the corner. And my mother, she was really sad about it, really sad, because she came into my room and I was sitting there playing with the computer all the time and don't want to be disturbed and going crazy. And then one day, like it's like a major event for me still, she came into my room with the local newspaper from the village I grew up. And there was like an announcement, kind of like rock band is looking for a drummer. And she came into my room. I was playing Counter-Strike. And she said like, please, please, at least call them. At least call them. I said, okay, I will do it. And this kind of, I think this changed my whole life because I started playing with them. We became good friends. It was like the first real band, and we played like original stuff, but also stuff from bands like Led Zeppelin, The Doors, a lot of The Doors, Rolling Stones, Janis Joplin, all that kind of music. So this was also like a process of learning all these things and getting to know all the music which is out there, because I wasn't grown up like very musically. Just one thing, my father, he always had like a Motorhead CD, and I still don't know why. It was lying around and I liked it, but it's kind of strange why it was there. I don't know.
Wait. I got to stop you for a second. So you said you had some influence because there was Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson and Motorhead couldn't be further apart from one another.
Exactly.
In a family catalog.
Yeah. I think maybe he got it from a friend and he didn't even know what it is. I don't know. It was lying there, and I can really remember this CD and the artwork. And so yeah, I was playing this band. We had like a rock and roll time of our life, kind of. Some of them were a couple years older than me, so like the cool guys, and I want to be like them. So I dedicated like most of my time to the music then, and stopped doing all the computer gaming stuff, and played in a couple of other bands as well. And then at one point, like when I finished school, I first wanted to go like in the direction of event or like sound engineering, like for live events. But I didn't really like it, kind of. And I thought, okay, what should I do after school? And I never knew that it's possible to study music. Like, and I had this book. It's like a drum book. I learned a lot of it from it, but on the back of it, I read it for the first time. I had this book like for 8 years. I read for the first time that the guy who wrote the book, he studied drums in Cologne, I think, in Germany. So I thought like, you can study drums. I want to do this as well. So then I started to look around. Okay, what do you need? Oh, I never played piano. Oh, all the music theory thing is, I don't know. So I took a couple of years and prepared myself and applied for drum studies, like jazz and popular music in the Netherlands. And then I got accepted. So that's like basically the start of the whole journey, kind of, yeah.
Wow. So then you went off, studied, and then how did you start to find yourself creating your own music and your own sound?
It took a while. So because like I was studying drums, so I did all the drumming stuff and I enjoyed it a lot, like playing different kind of music from jazz to Latin, whatever, pop, neo soul. We tried everything and it was nice, good to have this experience. But like maybe it's also kind of a drummer thing that you're always like in the position of a drummer and you cannot really, or it's hard to express yourself if you are in a group, like in a band and do songwriting together. For me, it was always, I had ideas in my head, but it was hard to tell them, do it like this, do it like that. So I started somehow using Ableton Live, tried out things, but it was all very basic. And the thing is, my mind was already much further. So then you take this new program and you don't know anything about it, about how to mix or how this all works. So it's really frustrating. So I stopped again. Then I put it back again. I tried again and again and again. And like after a couple of years, you get more and more experienced and start doing like your first or very own tracks. But when I look back now, it's all shit, actually. Like it's, yeah, even like the stuff I did like 5 years ago, I feel now, I don't know.
Well, you never know. I mean, one
Yeah.
day, you may come back to it. I mean, I think Peter Gabriel has a new album that he's releasing, over the course of the next year, and some of these tracks were pieces that he had here and there scattered all over his studio, so to say, and that he started to revisit. Even the band Squeeze, their new album was written 50 years ago, and they revisited it and re-recorded it. So you never say never. Maybe you'll go back to those and go, wait a minute, there's, maybe this whole thing isn't good, but this little bit is. So you never know.
Exactly. That's why I collect or try to collect everything, like from the last years, from sessions, was like stuff or like stuff when I'm on holiday on the campsite. I record something and I feel like, I don't know, but maybe one day I will use it. You never know. Yeah. So, but like I still was more. I felt more like a drummer, and I am like I enjoy it, but it's not that it's like my everyday practice. After studying, I used to teach a lot in music schools. Must say, I never really liked it. It was okay, but not really my thing. And then I think it was with like the pandemic, when the pandemic started. So the music schools shut down. I had time. I was at home, and I started being like, maybe I want to go more into a production thing. Not just like for me, for my own music, but also learn like how to mix and produce various kinds of music. also to offer it to people, like like it's mixing stuff for other people, mastering stuff for other people, all that. And so during that time, I developed a lot. I bought a lot, unfortunately. Like all that synth stuff I got addicted to, like modular synths and Prophets and Mooks and everything. And then came all the studio gear. So yeah, and that's like how I developed my sound to this point, kind of. Yeah.
Well, then for one, and we're going to make sure that everyone, they know that we prefer people to purchase music around here. So the links will be in the description below. So purchasing music, support your artist, because he's got to pay off all that gear that he bought, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
The music's not free. You gotta buy the stuff to make the stuff. So let's talk about the album. Now I'm gonna tell you, when I was listening to it, it reminded me, not exactly, but from a production standpoint, there's a musician, his name is Ali Ferguson. He plays with Ray Wilson's band, and he's done his own solo albums. And his albums are very much based in the earth. And what I mean by that is he brings in sounds from wind to water to rain to all of these, the sound we hear in our life that sometimes we take for granted. And listening to your album, I heard a lot of natural sounds, and it really made me, it drew me in, because most artists will sit in a studio, right? And they use what's in the studio. Yours felt like it was made in nature. Am I hearing it correctly? Because it was beautiful to have that feeling that I was there in the space of the album.
It's true, yeah, it's true. Like one thing I love to do when I travel, I like traveling. I always have my field recorder with me, and I like to collect stuff. Like, for example, I've been to a cave in Thailand. There were like dead stalactites, and I recorded them because it was like a really percussive kind of bongo sound. And like all kind of things to have in my library, because for me personally, it's most of the time it's a good starting point, because I don't like to take a synth and start from there, because more often, like I take these field recordings and see like, okay, what can I do with it? Like creating a rhythm out of it, or using it just like an ambience to already have like a world, like a frame where I can create inside. So that's a huge part of my work. So you hear it correctly. Like it's not present in every song, I would say, but I use it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and the even the instrumentation, my big thing is, you can listen to some recordings and you can put your finger on it and go, I can tell what era that was made in. I can tell kind of what the style of the day was then. But with yours, because a lot of the instrumentation is natural in its sound, I think you've created something that will stand the test of time, because you're not going to just be able to say, oh, this was a 2026 release. Could have been 20 years ago, could be 20 years from now, but it really has that feel that it has breath and it's living. So I applaud you for that. Let's talk about 1995. Tell me about that song.
Okay, it's like 1995 is, I would say, like the most personal song so far for me. It started all out that I wanted to make a ballad. So I thought, like, I have a shitty piano here in my living room, and sometimes I play, and I thought, like, okay, maybe I try to create some kind of ballad, like really a piano song with vocals. So I wrote this kind of cheesy on the piano, and with the lyrics, can talk about the lyrics later. And but then after all, I had this one, and I thought, like, no, it's not really me. So I went into the studio with this piano recording and again flipped it around, like forward, backward, and made kind of a Taroug composition out of it. So I liked it more. And then about the vocals, like the vocals are maybe interesting because it's all about childhood memories. Like I grew up in Germany, but my father, he's from Tunisia. And when I was young, we used to do like vacation there. It's not like we spent every year there, but every now and then. And like the village where my family in Tunisia lives, it's really down south at the Chott. The village is called the Gesh. And I have this blurry memories in my head of stuff like that happened like in 1995, the year I was 7 years old. And I remember stuff like my cousin, he was older, he was already like a teenager, and he picked me up like with his rusty old car, and we went to the local outdoor swimming pool. There were all these plastic chairs and people smoking the pipes like shisha, and like going to a shop where he bought me like all the sweets I wanted. My parents, they didn't know. He said like, take everything you want. And I had everything. And yeah, I felt really bad after it and all that kind of stuff, but it's like blurry in my head kind of. And this is what all the lyrics are about actually. And also I feel like now the music also kind of reflects it, like with the pianos going forward and backwards and everything is kind of dreamy and yeah, what is it actually like? It's like blurry memories for me.
Well, it's interesting because if you took all the lyrics off the album and you just listened to the music without the lyrics, it has this quality of it that it creates almost a theater of the mind. Like I could almost see a cinematic experience in some of the songs, right? Whether it's a ship at sea or the blowing sands of a desert. I could actually see that without if I wasn't listening to the lyrics. So I think you've really painted a great musical landscape, right, with this album. So for those who I'm sorry.
Maybe it's one of my strengths because like people very often say to all of my music that it's really cinematic kind of like the images I had in my head, or like you can create your own images. It's like really yeah, it would maybe fit good in a movie or whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because there's another musician. He's from Wuppertal. These days he goes by Jack McBannon, but his name is Thorsten Willer. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he gave me a copy of one of his albums without any of the lyrics on it, and I used it for like some drone footage and stuff. And when I listen to it, I can just see the images in my head without any of the lyrics. And to me, that's the sign of great songwriting, right? When you can put me in a place when the music moves me to see something without being told what to see. So I think you've really it definitely is a strength of yours for sure.
Yeah.
We live in a world where people shuffle a lot, right? They don't listen to, you may put 10 songs, 12 songs together, but people are shufflers. And although I prefer to listen front to back, others don't. And given that, which 2 or 3 songs that if someone were to just land on your music, they're watching us today, and you want to draw them in, which 2 or 3 songs do you really feel are kind of the entree or the appetizer to the meal to listen to everything? Does it make sense? Which couple of songs do you feel really are going to pull people in so they don't just shuffle away, they listen to your catalog, they listen to the whole album?
I mean, including my new album?
Right, including the new album, but in your entire catalog, right?
Yeah.
Do you have
I
a
would
couple of
say,
songs that kind of define when everything is, when all the cylinders are firing correctly, and it didn't even have to be a single, but you're like, these songs kind of define what I'm trying to say. And if someone heard them first, they listen to the rest. What couple would those be?
I think like from my previous record, Darts and Kites, it would be for me the Gesh, which is like a bit more technoid, but like from the sound design perspective, all the synth stuff, that's really me. And then from the new album, I think also like 1995, because it's like it's showing like a different side of me, but still it's very me. And let me think. Yeah, actually, I like a lot of the songs from the new record. It's hard to say,
Well,
but
it is a great record.
Maybe also Millet, which is again a bit more upfront and driven. Because maybe it's just because I'm a drummer. Because I still like doing very percussive drummy stuff. Also on stage, like I still play the drums. So maybe these three tracks, it's like gives a broad image between technoid, driving distorted stuff, and very intimate stuff. Like, I guess, yeah, these two.
Well, now everyone now knows where to start. And again, the links will be in the low so you can buy all of this great music. I'm always curious. We go through our lives, and sliding doors is kind of the way to say it. But people come and go within our lives, and they have different impacts on us. Is there one person who's come through your life that has impacted you monumentally in your musical career, that from the moment that you first came into contact, they deposited within you a piece of advice, some ideas or something, or they've been there to encourage you along the way? Is there someone who's made a monumental impact on your career? Who would that be?
Yes, it's for sure my girlfriend. She is actually, she also makes all my imagery stuff, like, and she is kind of my producer. Like, she has very good ideas, and when I don't know any further, she helps me a lot. She's a really great designer, architect. She made all the artwork stuff, and I think like without her, it all wouldn't look like that. Maybe even I wouldn't have released an album, because like she helps me a lot to take the stuff I produce, I make, and put it into something. She's really helpful with that, I think. Yeah.
Well, if she's your girlfriend, and she's got that kind of impact, buddy, don't mess things up. Keep her around.
No.
Be good to her. That kind of leads me to another thing, on the creativity side. It used to be years ago, you could make your music and you'd create maybe put out a music video and then promote and be done. We live in a different world these days where it's a constant, having to feed the engine of content, right? As someone who really is engrossed in making the music piece, how do you feel about all the other demands that being a musician are putting on musicians these days, and having to all this content and the social media and all that other stuff? Is that something that you enjoy doing? Is it a burden to you? And what are your thoughts on that?
It depends. Like, it's in times really stressful for me, like, because it's always like in the back of my head, and even like with a new single release, it's so much work. You have new press pictures, you have to change it like on every platform. then you have to create stories, you have to create Insta reels. It's not that I'm like really deeply into it and do a lot. I try to not really like show my face a lot, but do it all more like on a arty side of things, like creating little videos and stuff, more abstract. I enjoy doing it, but it's a lot of work, and sometimes it's much more work than the process of making the music actually. So it depends. Some things I like, some things I don't like, and I know that I have to do it, and I know that it kind of helps, but yeah, not really. I would love to have someone to do this for me actually. I'm quite happy that I have at least found a label for the releases, and they do some stuff, but still I do a lot of booking stuff myself. And when I'm into it, when I say like, okay, I do this now, I don't know, like for the next festival season, I will send out stuff now. It's all right, but like if I haven't done it for 1 or 2 years, it's hard to get into it again. And like, yeah, that's
and we live in this constant feedback loop these days, right? You mentioned, some stress that you get from having to do, that above and beyond the music creative things. But we have this feedback loop, and not everyone's going to love everything we do, right?
mm.
What are things that you do because of that constant feedback loop from social media, et cetera, and that stress to protect your emotional and your mental health so that you can stay focused on being creative? Like, how do you handle some of those things, and what are some things that you do that really help keep you centered and focused?
I would love to delete all these apps, but I'm really bad in it. So yeah, I look at it every day, and but sorry, I need to drink. I think there's not really a lot I do against it to protect myself. Unfortunately, I know I should do it better to protect myself, but also I think like I'm a bit more of an like person who can just don't care about all these things, but I know it's not true. It will go into my brain and it will do something. I don't know what, but it does something. So maybe that's one thing to protect myself better from this, because I experience stuff like when I'm, for example, a lot on Instagram and I see what other people do, it's like you get these feelings of everything I do is bad. Why am I doing this actually? And this is not a good thing. But yeah, so far I haven't really done something to protect myself against it, beside from going out into the nature, like going into the park, going for a walk, or like going to my studio, sitting there with a synth and putting my phone away and diving into the synth for 1 hour, for example, without anything around me, traveling, stuff like that, and gaining inspiration like from other places in the world, more beautiful places, because this is not the most beautiful place, I would say, where we live.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it's not as easy as it always seems, because we're just inundated with it around the clock, and putting the device down, turning things off, and getting back to being part of the world we live in can be challenging, because we've had years of these dopamine rushes in our heads because of all the apps and the constant on of all of that. So yeah, it sounds like, at least the part of it, you've got it under control, but it's something that I think that it's definitely a challenge to find out what works for you so that you can manage it so it doesn't start to manage you.
Yeah, like one of my friends, he's really good. He's also a musician, and he's really good like in controlling it. And he says like he's going on, for example, Instagram a day like 10 minutes. 10 minutes, that's it. And I feel like how? Because for me, or like when you're a creator, it's also something different because it's not like that I'm going on Instagram just to consume and see what do other people do. But for example, you have a new release, you post something, and sure, you are interested in how people react to it. So that's like you check again and again. Oh, a new comment. Oh, like first thing in the morning, like when I posted something the day before, the first thing in the next morning is like checking, oh, how many likes do I have? It's so
It is.
stupid. Yeah.
It is, but it's I mean, look, we, for this channel, I mean, we post something up, we're like, how did it do? Or we posted something that, back in December for a birthday of a bass player in a punk band. And, 10 o'clock at night, wake up the next morning, wow, 500 impressions already. And then suddenly a month later, it's at 180,000. And I'm like, wow, how did this happen? But you're like, you get so into it. But then you think that, oh, I'm going to post something and it's me great, and nobody watches it, right? So it's a weird thing, and it has control over us. So I think it's important to recognize that and make sure that you're finding ways to be mentally mindful of all of it.
And also not taking it too serious. If like you, for example, share something where you are really like proud of maybe, and then a couple of days later the reactions are really low, just like say, okay, that's it. I don't care like that, but it's not easy. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not. One of the things we love doing here is putting things out in the world, because if you keep it inside, nobody knows about it. And you may have a vision board. I don't know. You may have a bucket list. You have a dream, an idea of something you'd like to do in life. So I always like to know, if you could get in a studio for one day with another musician or a producer to be creative together, just to make something, see what happens in that collaboration. Who would that person be, and why them?
I think, although I would be really afraid, it would be Thom Yorke, I think.
Why?
Thom Yorke from Radiohead. Because, I love Radiohead's music. I love the stuff he's doing solo. And he was like a huge inspiration for me. And like also like for many surrounding musicians, for me, like everybody loves Radiohead. Like I feel like, and I think like because I thought about this question some while ago, and I think it would be the most interesting collaboration partner for me. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's totally uneasy to work with him. I don't know. But like only from a musical perspective, it would be the most interesting one. Also because like I used to play in a band with a guy. We had a duo, and he's also a guitar player and doing a lot of nerdy stuff. And he is also really influenced by Radiohead, and I loved working with him. He was kind of like him, but in a smaller way. Kind of.
Well, now it's out there, so maybe it can happen. Anybody watching knows Thom Yorke. If you're connected to him in some way, we got to get Tarek to get connected to him and make that dream come true. It's out there in the world now. You never know what could happen. So let's see what happens. Our audience is amazing. As I mentioned before, and as we say every time on the podcast, you've got to support your artists. You've got to buy their music. You've got to buy the merch. You've got to buy the ticket to the gig. Art is not free. So down below, you're going to find links so that you can reach out, follow on social media, find Tarek's music, buy Tarek's music, enjoy it, tell your friends about it, all that great stuff. With that, what we'd like to do to wrap these up is to get inside your head a little bit. When you're not making your own music, are there a couple of artists or a couple that you've been listening to that you're like, it just fulfills you, right? It's nurturing to you. Who are a couple of artists you've been listening to recently, and what do you love about them, and why should I listen? Tell me why you would want to turn me on to them.
Okay. Radiohead for sure, that's clear. Okay. But then one artist I really love is Rival Consoles. You know him?
Mm-mm.
It's from London, like an electronic music producer, and I don't know. I really love his kind of sound design. I think he's doing most of his stuff only like with very limited equipment. He uses his Dave Smith Prophet synth a lot, and then just processing it with pedals, and it's like very musical. I like how musical his sound is, and also how his records sound like so nice, gritty, clean. It's just something I really enjoy, no matter if it's like on the background while I'm hoovering or something, or like paying really attention to it and listening to it. That's also like from the sound design perspective, also a huge influence, like in the last couple of years. Yeah. Then there's this drummer. She's called Valentina Magaletti. She's also like more in the experimental music scene active. And I don't know, she's playing with a lot of different formations. And she has just like a really nice style. I like her playing. And then another drummer I really enjoy is Mark Juliana. You know Mark Juliana? He is, I think, from New York. He played the last Bowie record. He was the drummer on that one. And I like his solo stuff. It's worth checking out. He was on tour now. I think like when he toured now, he only used 2 drum sets on stage and the piano, like very raw. Yeah, these are like
I'm gonna have to check him out. I mean, I'm a big Bowie fan. Didn't realize he was on the last Bowie album. So I'll have to dig into liner notes and go down that rabbit hole. Thank you for the suggestions. Tarek, this has been great. Hopefully one day you're in the States. Let's get our viewers in the States to say, hey, let's get them over here. Let's get some gigs. And all the best success on this album. This has been a great opportunity to get to know you. Thanks for making time for me today.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
All right. Everybody, go out, purchase his music. You know what to do. The links are below. Follow him on all of his socials. It'll make him feel better. When you have a moment, as I always tell you, do yourself a favor. Show yourself some love. Show yourself some grace. And then go do that to others. Because we all need a lot of that these days. And we get places in this world together, and we are here to support one another. So please show yourself some love and do the same to others. In the meantime, Tarek, this has been great, and I look forward to the next album. We're going to do this again one day. I'm pretty sure of it.
I hope so.
Till the next episode, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye for now.